Like I was saying, these are really interesting times for all of us, chaotic, to say the least. We're entering really just these new forms of this fifth dimensional energies that are really testing us and trying us every step of the way, whether it be through COVID or our politics here in this country or environmental around the world. All of it are tests of time. And we're being tested through all of it. It's always like the reason why I like to tell people to really learn to be the observer of things going on around you without needing to take them on personally. Just view them and you decide from outside of your field whether this is really a concern to you or somebody else. And then you could choose then to what you want to let in your field. Otherwise, it just becomes way too chaotic for us. And it's not necessary. What I wanted all of you to know, although these are very scary and chaotic times, they're also some of the best learning opportunities for all of us now to learn through. Learn through our personal lessons as well as our planetary lessons. And I really feel very strongly that things are going to be all right. And not into the far distant future either. We will all persevere. We will all be challenged, sometimes to the brink. But this is where our faith and trust comes in. Faith in ourselves and God and the universe, and trusting what is going on, that there's a bigger picture for everything in this world for us to learn through. You know, we're all here to learn lessons, and the lessons are always going to be about learning through love. Each and every step, how we can learn to greater expand our ability to love and be loved, especially by ourselves. I just wanted to go over a few things about these courses. So I wanted all of you to know that these courses will all be available. They'll be recorded and available through my website for purchase. And that will include this three-part Crystal Grid certification course, which is today, next Sunday, and the following Sunday. And then I also have a one-day Vogel technique, which is an amazing healing modality that I use personally in my own healing work. And then the first two Sundays in December, I'm going to offer a two-part course, which is everything you wanted to know about the chakras, including learning the ancient art of laying the stones on the body. It's really exciting work. You know, my work is about crystals and healing and energy. It's become my passion. And for those that may not know who I am or I'm meeting here today for the first time, for me it started in the early 80s. I was already on my path practicing Buddhism. And my third eye had just started to open through a 6-month headache. And I was just guided by a friend to ask me if I wanted to go to a crystal course. It was an evening course. And I thought to myself, well, why not? I have nothing else better to do. So we went, and it was interesting. I learned a lot about healing, about touching on the body, and about, of course, about a little bit about crystals. So after I left, I thought, well, I probably won't be doing much with this, not knowing that it would become my life's work. But I did find myself collecting crystals and collecting crystals and collecting crystals until I had all these crystals in my home, on my windowsills, all around me. And I thought, all right, well, now what the hell do I do with them? So I decided to go and learn. And I thought about, well, where should I start? So I sought out some who I thought at the time were some very crystal masters who really had a lot under their belts regarding the use of crystals. And the first teacher that I had with crystals was a woman by the name of Katrina Raphael. And part of the work that we'll be learning in these 3 courses come from her work. She was kind of the queen bee of the crystal world because she wrote a trilogy of books back in the early 80s, signifying the master quartz crystals and also bringing into a professionalized form the ancient art of laying the stones on the body. And I wound up having a 20-year working relationship with her, teaching students under her school until I opened my own. And then there was also a channel who's still around, and his name is Lazarus, and he taught a lot about a lot of different things. But one of the things he did teach about was building relationships with crystals in the crystal kingdom, which I wasn't finding anywhere else. So I was drawn to that and learned a lot through it, spending time studying through him. And then there was a third, which was Marcel Vogel. And he was the IBM research scientist that worked for IBM for 30 years, growing and cutting crystals for IBM laboratories for their computers. But he also had another side to him, which was quite spiritual, where he was guided one day by a voice that said to start cutting crystals for healing and meditation. So he wound up after 30 years leaving IBM and formulating these crystals called the Vogel crystals, which I teach about now all the time. And it's my preferred use of work that I use because it's quick, precise, and to the point. And during these times, that's all we need. We need something that's very efficient, that doesn't take a long period of time, and cuts right to the core of someone's healing or ability to heal. With that said, nobody heals anyone. It's God who heals. And we learn to heal ourselves through the ability to be a conduit to others to do this. Whether you're using the Vogel technique or the ancient art of laying the stones, or even these crystal grids that you're going to learn about in these 3 courses, it's always God from source, whatever you want to name him or her. We're all just conduits for each other, just guiding each other home, really. So I studied with someone in Miami in the early 80s. His name was Peter Chin, and he was closely affiliated with Dr. Marcel Vogel in California in his research center there. And I was guided to go and work with him for about a year studying the Vogel technique, having no idea why or what I was going to be doing with any of this. But I did learn early on that I had an ability to listen to my higher self when my lower self wanted to do other things. So, like I said, this started coming into form and learning how to work with crystals and how to heal with crystals as well. And like I said, it's become my passion. And for many people who are taking this class, crystals are a passion for you as well. They're part of the crystal kingdom, of all the kingdoms, whether it be the plant and animal, human kingdom. The crystal and mineral kingdom have reached the highest form of evolution. And in that clarity of evolution, they have chosen to assist mankind to help us get to the next step of where we need to be in our own personal growth and evolution. And that's why they open themselves to us now for all of this to occur. And we'll be talking more about that throughout the day. So one of the things I wanted to first talk about was the ability. Here, let me, I want to just put this up here. Hold on. There we go. And I wanted to give you a sense of working with crystals and what that really represents. In this case, quartz crystals. So here we have an atom that's comprised of a nucleus, and around that electrons form. And these electrons, when you hold a crystal, a knead a crystal, these electrons start to pop off and shrink back, and they start to pop off and shrink back, and they start to build a charge. First, a charge in the form of electricity. That moves into a charge in the form of light, which eventually can move into a charge in the form of thought, which is how we can program crystals. And that's how they're used in computers. The ability to hold energy later to be released. Information being held in a computer later to be released. The piezoelectric energy is how computers work. Interestingly enough, we have that same ability in our brains, as it's also comprised of silica and oxygen. The same that's in quartz. Our memory holds information later to be released. So we really all are related throughout all the kingdoms. And I think it's man's biggest lesson, really, for us to learn to revere and respect all the kingdoms, especially these days, the animal kingdoms. And with environmental issues, the plants, trees, all of that. What we need to grow spiritually. So when we need a crystal, like I said, these electrons start to pop off and shrink back, pop off and shrink back, pop off and shrink back, and they start to form a charge of electricity that moves into a charge of light that eventually can move into a charge of thought. And when you move this energy around this crystal, it expands out. Until it's out in the ethers, traveling through time and space, reaching all of you right now in this class. These can sometimes be large crystals, but it can even be done with handheld pieces as well, which once again I will share in the courses as we go on.